Now in Tanzania, there would be, I'm not going to say there would never be protest, but it's going to be very, very difficult because, mothers and fathers and parents are going to be having these conversations with their Gen Zs to say, hey, you sure you want to go protest? Because these people are ruthless. And if there's nobody to stop them, they'll keep killing until there's no more of the young people that can actually protest. So let's watch this video together because it's very disheartening. Let's check this out. Guys, welcome. What I want to talk about, what I want to share actually is a video that I saw. And this is Tanzania's president apparently pardoning about 300, Tanzanian youths. For me, it is the level of disrespect and the fact that in 2025, these African leaders still think that they could get away with these kinds of gimmicks and games that they're playing with our emotions, the games they're playing with our intelligence, the games they're playing with a sense of being. And you all know, if you followed what happened, Tanzania had elections, and it is claimed, from numerous sources, that over 3,000 people lost their lives. Young men and young women, protesting and standing up to defend democracy. We've seen across Africa, especially East Africa and West Africa, we've seen the demise of democracy. We've seen the bastardization of democracy in itself. We've seen the rise of dictatorships. So it is a reality. It is a thing that is happening. But I want to share this video real quick. Let's take a look at this video because I want you guys to see how shameful this is. After it killed these youths for protesting, arrested hundreds of youths, and now they're claiming that they're giving them pardon, because this is how they crumble them down. Now in Tanzania, there would be, I'm not going to say there would never be protest, but it's going to be very, very difficult because, mothers and fathers and parents are going to be having these conversations with their Gen Zs to say, hey, you sure you want to go protest? Because these people are ruthless. And if there's nobody to stop them, they'll keep killing until there's no more of the young people that can actually protest. So let's watch this video together because it's very disheartening. Let's check this out.
Just across the border, Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has announced a pardon for youth arrested and charged with treason in connection with post-election unrest. The president directing the Director of Public Prosecutions to review and withdraw charges against more than 300 young people implicated in the disturbances. Quoting the Bible, President Samia said the youth did not know what they were doing. She further announced the formation.
You see what they're doing there. I believe this is Tanzania's TV station, and they couldn't even come to terms with the word protest. They said disturbances. So now when the young people protest because they are standing up for what they believe is the right thing that should be done, locking up opposition in jail and not allowing them to compete, and you will receiving 80, 90 something, 98% of the vote. That is a real definition of what dictatorship means. And now she's coming around and pardoning 300 and claiming that the Bible, that they did not know what they were doing, when consciously they know what they did to these young people that they killed, the ones that have lost their lives. We've heard about mass graves in Tanzania of dumping these bodies. So, but let's continue listening to this in an hour.
Of a commission of inquiry to investigate the deaths witnessed in the election protests. Here now is Citizen TV's Ben Kirui.
She used the opening of Tanzania's 13th parliament to revisit the turmoil that followed the country's recent elections, outlining fresh measures aimed at restoring peace and unity, including the formation of a commission of inquiry to probe the deaths of hundreds.
Natoa pole kwa familia zote zilizopoteza wapendwa wao, na tunaomba Mwenyezi Mungu kama tulivyoomba awapumzishe kwa amani. Serikali imechukua hatua ya kuunda tume ya kuchunguza yaliyotokea, yani inquiry commission, ili tujue kiini cha tatizo.
Addressing 393 lawmakers who punctuated nearly every remark with applause, President Samia spoke of approaching the post-election period with reconciliation in mind. announcing a pardon for individuals arrested and charged with treason for allegedly taking part in the election violence with intent to disrupt the polls.
Ninavyoelekeza vyombo vya sheria na hasa ofisi ya mkurugenzi wa mashtaka kuangalia kiwango cha makosa yaliyofanywa na vijana.
So guys, you see, so that is the reality of what is actually happening. You see the members of parliament applauding after they killed so many young people for standing up and defending democracy. So what we see across Africa is that even oppositions now pretty much somewhat are joining hands with these dictatorial, ruling governments to take away and strip away the rights of the people of Africa. So we see members of parliament in that parliament. I mean, 393 members of parliament, and they're all, just, I don't know if they are applauding or just stomping on the table, but it sounds like they are applauding her because she came out and said she's going to pardon all of the youths that were involved in the protest. Well, they call it disturbances because that's what it is. So this is a systematic, approach, in the 21st century to stifle free speech, stifle protest. And for a lot of these countries, I think it's time for them to evaluate and say, hey, do we want to even keep protesting in our constitution? Because when you look at across West Africa, you look at what is actually happening, in East Africa, of course, you look at places like the Uganda, you look at Kenya, Tanzania now, you see what is actually happening there. All of these states are all, totalitarians now, and they don't care about the lives of their citizens, and they just kill them because they feel like they could. They don't respect their democratic rights. They don't respect their civil liberties. And look at this, the gall that this lady has to come out here and pretend as if she's pardoning these young people, after they've killed so many of them, but again, that's where we're going. And that's why we're going to see the rise again of, coup d'etats across Africa. It's going to happen. Unfortunately, though, what has been happening in recent times, because even the military, in these African countries have been bought and paid for, due to tribalism. These military forget that they have a responsibility to their various constitution. And every country in the world has a provision in the constitution where the military has a responsibility to protect and safeguard the achievements of their people. Every country has that. But in Africa, what is actually happening now, the military, of course, when they come to power, these governments, they put their own tribesmen over there, as commanders in chiefs and, whatever that is, whatever title you guys call it out there in your own various countries. But the head of the army, these are people that are either tribalists, they are the brothers and sisters of the ruling governments. So they are all part of the play now. So the people are left to themselves. In Tanzania today, as you see, most of the opposition leaders are in jail. And even after the protest, they got arrested, locked up. So that is what is actually happening. So African youths, I say to you, don't give up. It's difficult. Everywhere is going to be difficult. You cannot run away from your problems. You cannot run away from these leaders. You are a lot more than them. I mean, we're talking about millions of you all compared to a few in the political arena. I mean, I know they use thugs, they provide weapons for them and all that stuff. But please, African youths, I don't want you guys to give up on the fact that you could take your countries back. Because the times that we are living in with the advent of social media, we can see all of this stuff. Everybody sees this. Nobody's going to come to save you. You're on your own. Thank God for your opposition leaders, even though they are locked up, because that is why they locked them up in the first place, because they know if they're out there, then of course they'll be able to mobilize and, bring you guys together to stand up to them. So it's very difficult what is happening in Kenya, Tanzania, Sierra Leone, worst case scenario too. We've seen over the years in Sierra Leone. Matter of fact, I was going to share a video that I would want, to ask, because we've saved some of these videos and we want to know exactly, the status of those cases. So this is an example of such video that I have from Sierra Leone back in 2021. This was in my 91 when a young man was killed. So I'm going to share this with you all so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And we'll take it from there, because This is across Africa. So African youth, wake up. This is in Sierra Leone. This is a father who's calling for help. He's going to be speaking Creole, but basically his son was killed. But let me play this because the reason is there is a brother that you can see. There's a brother back here standing behind right there. This gentleman right here. His name is Thomas Moore. He's a good lawyer. He was standing up for the people back then. But this point, he wasn't a lawyer at the time because he went to law school about two or 3 years ago. But Thomas Moore is someone that knows about this case, and I would like to have status update on this because that is what is happening in Sierra Leone. They've killed people, and up until this day, there's never been any quests, to bring folks to justice as to who killed who, and prosecute the perpetrators of such harmful, and dastardly acts against the citizens. But this was a father who was crying. A small town called My 91 in Sierra Leone. Let me play this video for you guys. Listen to this.
They call prayers. And at the same time, I send me picking Matibo with him bike. On the way coming, he coming up them to Kadaya. Put him down from the bike. Opposite one trader guy, Namatibo. The body refused to give the bike. The other police officer, he see no police officer, he pitched to the guy 4 shots. The picking drop, then take the bike, and then come back inside Toya. Then come broke some house, then I take some bike, then load them, begin run after people there inside. Me no say they don't kill me picking. I sit down here. Me ask just take me say make I go up inside in the fire and I no kill nobody. I no get problem with person. We sat in the fire, I no see me picking land go there. I meet up in brother with blood. You say my brother and don't kill him.
Yeah, so for my brothers in other African countries, you might not understand what he's saying, but basically this is a father whose son was killed. This was during the Madabio, administration, currently occupying office illegally, by the way, that needs to be said. It was, the early onset of his government, where they were just killing people left, right, and center, with absolutely reckless abandon. They did not care because they had this preconceived notion that nobody is going to do anything about it. And the opposition, of course, won the elections, and they said they're going to move on. So now in Sierra Leone, we have a one-party state system. And this was what caused the rebel war. If you know anything about Sierra Leone's history with the rebel war that we had, we have a one-party state system where the opposition is now in bed with the ruling government, and the people are left to themselves. We have a high rate of drugs, a drug epidemic across Sierra Leone, and of course in the West African basin. We've seen recently drugs being captured, in Nigeria coming from Sierra Leone. It's terrible. But this is a case that, similarly, so you've all seen what happened, in Kenya. You've seen the youths of Nepal. You saw the youths of, Bangladesh. You saw the youths in Mogadishu, Madagascar, Mozambique. All of these African countries where the people are coming of age and the young people are realizing that they deserve so much more. And they are asking and they are demanding. And in the process of them demanding and asking for what they deserve, this is what happens to them. They kill them, they massacre them. And the international community is not coming. No, the United States is not stepping up anymore. I mean, the European Union and all these international partners, they don't care. Because these regimes in power, basically, they signed all these deals. At the end of the day, they get all the mineral resources out of the country. They don't care. They get the diamonds, the gold, iron ore, whatever we have, ilmenite, all these stuff that we have as natural resources. They're taking everything out of the country, so they don't really care, And nobody's coming to save Africa. Only the people of Africa, are going to save themselves. And we've seen the young people really making the effort, but they're being crushed. And we've seen, if history teaches us anything, it's what history has taught us is the fact that, when the governments fail their people, the military fail to stand up, there's going to be rebellions and there's going to be uprisings. And we're going to see people taking up arms and ammunition against the state, to free themselves off of these despotic leaders, these totalitarians, these authoritarians. That is what is actually going to happen. And that is why, again, I say to African youths, keep doing what you're doing, keep standing up, keep mobilizing yourselves. You can free your countries. But it's so sad that the president of Tanzania claims to pardon, that she's pardoning, the youth that were arrested because they were protesting, rightfully so. You locked up all the opposition before elections, and the people came out of protest and say, we did not vote for you. There's no way you can have 98% of the votes. This only happens in Rwanda. It's nowhere. Anywhere you hear somebody saying they have that much votes, it's gonna be a problem somewhere, man. Come on. And we know in the case of Tanzania, that was virtually absolutely impossible. But what did they do? They killed the youths, and now she's giving them pardon. Listen to this real quick.
Kwa wale ambao wanaonekana walifuata mkumbo na hawakudhamiria kufanya uhalifu, wawafutie makosa yao.
Quoting the Holy Book, she said that as the mother of the nation, she believed the more than 300 youth involved were driven by political excitement rather than any intention to plunge the country into chaos.
Natoa msamaha huo kwa sababu.
You hear the language she's using? Now she's been remorseful. After she saw the killings, they saw the killings. Now she's acting all remorseful because this is the play. She's acting for ECOWAS. She's acting for all these organizations. This is just a play. This is a concert. Because that is what they want to see. Oh well, she is very remorseful, or she's taking action. She's calling for investigations, but we know it's not going to go anywhere. This is just pure advantage, taking advantage of the young people, taking advantage of the youths, and to just strip them of every power that they have left. This is what they're doing. And so it's going to be very hard now for people in Tanzania to stand up and resist these people. We'll see in the next 5 years or so across Africa, we're going to see the rise of rebellions. That is going to be a fact. We're going to see the rise of young people taking up arms and ammunition against these various states. And it's going to be very bloody because the people are not going to be, very polite with their approach. They're going to be very strategic with what they're going to be doing, to these folks that are responsible for the demise and the killings of their brothers and sisters. So again, to the African young people, keep doing what you do, stand strong, don't be phased. You cannot run away, you cannot go anywhere anymore. I mean, internationally, the immigration systems across the world, it's not, it does not favor Africans anymore. In my next live, I'll talk about that and how our brothers and sisters are getting locked up. Now you try to make it through to Europe, you get locked up and they find highlands or places where they can just drop you off. I recently heard of a situation of a lady from who's a Sierra Leonean that was dropped off in Ghana. Some of our brothers, Sister Fadima Savage was the first person that I saw that was talking about the lady. I don't know much about the story, but of course, Ghana, I know they signed a treaty with the United States that they would only accept West Africans. So, of course, Ghana is accepting West Africans that are deported from the U.S. So, Australia, they're making arrangements with some other highland somewhere, to all the African migrants that are in prison because they don't have space for them anymore. They want to send them to this island. They've signed like a $400 million deal with Nauru, a small island off the coast of Australia there. So we see what is actually happening. There's no place for you. There's no hiding place overseas anymore. Life is difficult out here as well. People are going through difficulties, so fight for your countries, stand up to these leaders. Don't let them win. And I say this again to African youths. If you are going to be protesting, remember this. Don't go light. If you know you're going to be protesting, don't think you're going to go protest, put it on your slippers, and you're just going to protest and run and come back home, and that's the end of it. If you're going to protest, you guys are going to organize yourselves. You should know what the end goal is. You shouldn't go home until these leaders leave and flee their countries or their positions and you guys take over power. We saw it in Nepal. It happened in Nepal. If it happened in Nepal, we could do it too. Because they know that when you guys come out to protest and I mean, it's tough because I'm not there. I'm not in your shoes because nobody wants to lose their life for your rights. And you're protected by the Constitution. The same people that should protect you are the ones killing you. But remember, they are there to kill you. So if you're going to protest, know that when I leave my house, I might not come back, and be prepared for what's going to happen. But this is their last ditch efforts to make sure they silence you guys because they know now that the people have a voice. And They know that the people are educated, and they know the people are informed, and they know the people know their rights now across Africa. So that is, what they're doing. And they're trying to quell, whatever uprising that you guys come up with. They're gonna give bandits weapons, and they're gonna go after you. They're gonna kill you all. That is what they're doing. It's sad, for Africa, because if anything, we want to have a stable democracy, and we want to believe that democracy is the power of the people, for the people, and by the people, and that the voices of the people matter. That is what we want to see for democracy. But across the world now, there's been a sharp increase in, dictators, and they have no respect for the people anymore, and it's a very sad state of affairs. But it's the reality of what is actually happening. So I just want to share this with you all, because we have this Tanzanian president coming out and pardoning Tanzanian youths for protesting after they killed them, locked them up, and now she's acting as if, oh, she's a very kind woman who's, just giving them pardons because they did not know what they were doing. They were excited. No, they know what they're doing. They're clever. They're sensible. They know you're destroying democracy. That's why they stood up to you. That's why they stood up to you. And what you did, you killed them. You gave the authority. You gave the command. You allowed the killing of Tanzanians, just like most of African, countries. We see the violence in Uganda. Bobby Wine and all these people are going through the same hardships. This is what is actually happening. So, guys, so brace yourself, everybody.